We're being told that the claim by Huda Ammori has been allowed on 2 grounds but rejected on 2 others. So we're not entirely sure at the moment whether the ban is going to be lifted. But certainly here, quite a lot of delight. The cheering started as soon as I was getting that message out here that they certainly had won on at least 2 of the grounds, rejected on 2. So just got to wait and see whether that means that Palestine Action will no longer be a proscribed organisation or whether that will remain in place. Of course, being a proscribed organisation means you cannot be a member, you cannot show any support for that. Well, clearly they think the news is good. The cheering really going up a notch just then. And we have to remember that 2,500 to 3,000 people have been arrested since last summer for showing placards that usually say, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action." So clearly in those places not violent in any way, but still deemed to be against the law simply because Palestine Action has been a proscribed organisation. So hopefully we'll get some clarity whether that ban has formally been lifted, but certainly the co-founder of the organisation winning on 2 counts. I'm getting some information now. So High Court rules ban on Palestine Action is unlawful and should be quashed in a landmark decision. And Palestine Action's co-founder Huda Ammori, a statement coming from her saying this is a monumental victory both for our fundamental freedoms here in Britain and in the struggle for freedom for the Palestinian people, striking down a decision that will forever be remembered as one of the most extreme attacks on free speech in recent British history. Just very carefully reading that, but I think, yes, so it would sound like this has most definitely been quashed and Palestine Action will no longer be a proscribed organisation under the Terrorism Act of 2000.
OK, so some nuance there with that judgment, but certainly in terms of the main thing that Palestine Action were looking for, which is for that proscription as a terror group to be held to be unlawful, the jubilation behind you really reinforces that they certainly believe that they have won that. What does it mean, do we know, Emma, for the thousands of people who have been arrested? And do those arrests, do those convictions, do they end up being quashed now?
That's not clear at the moment. That might make sense, but we're waiting for confirmation. I have just had a message from my colleague who's in court saying it remains proscribed until a further order of the court. Having said that, I think it's unlikely that anyone holding up a banner saying I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action will find themselves arrested as they had been at previous protests. For example, that one on September the 6th where more than 850 people were arrested. The scale of those arrests was so huge that they had to set up temporary tents to process those arrests in Westminster. All sorts of people who've been sitting on the pavement, sitting on Parliament Square with their placards, all sorts of people from teachers to pensioners, army officers, a retired magistrate in her 80s, all sorts of people who were taking part in those protests silently with those placards, but arrested for that action. Now, we know that there have been placards. Oh, you can see them now. So the placards that we knew were here but hadn't been shown are now back on show here at the Royal Courts of Justice since that decision was made just a few minutes ago that Palestine Action, that ban, was unlawful and should be quashed in what is undoubtedly a landmark decision.
Yeah, it does get confusing, though, Emma, doesn't it? Because it also says on the wires here that the ban stays in place pending an appeal process.
Yeah, so, yes, they've won the ban. Ban stays in place until further order pending the appeal process. So clearly there's going to be an appeal. Clearly the people are out with their banners still. I mean, I still think that probably less likely that they'll be arrested when we know that there has been this victory today here at the Royal Courts of Justice. But clearly this isn't over yet. You know, the Home Office were very clear about this, that they felt it was the right decision to prescribe Palestine Action in the summer when Yvette Cooper, the then Home Secretary, was justifying this decision. She was saying this is not a non-violent organisation, that this ban needed to be in place. But really the barristers in the hearing at the end of last year really pushing back against that, describing it as ill-considered, discriminatory, alien to the basic tradition, they said, of common law and the European Convention on Human Rights, and that simply this was a direct action civil disobedience organisation that did not advocate for violence. And so it was the first to be prescribed, an organisation like this to be prescribed. It was unlawful. They said it should be quashed. And certainly at court today it has been quashed. But if this appeal is underway is going to be forthcoming, then it appears that is why we are being told that the ban remains in place. The organisation will remain prescribed until a further court order.